Hey guys, my name's Chris, and this is Financial Fitness, and I'm back with Autopod from Star Path Academy. The guy has lived through hyperinflation, and I love to seek these people out. He's a great guy, and I can't wait to introduce you. How you doing, brother?
Thank you very much. I'm doing great.
Well, I got some really positive feedback from our last interview, and my wife is really digging it because it's kind of like boots on the ground. Uh, you lived it. It's kind of like when I like to read my comments that I get from the people in Canada and the food shortage comments because I like to read them on here because that's actual sightings from people that are in the comments that are not liars. I know your subscribers and my subscribers for sure are awesome people that absolutely care about their brothers and sisters. And when you read those comments, it's kind of like a community building thing. So it's really cool. And I've got a question. This is from my wife specifically. She said she wanted to know more about the banks. You said that they locked up the savings. Can you expand on that some?
Sure thing. So every situation is a bit different, and we don't exactly know what the next situation will look like in the next country. Every country has their own policies. Usually, as we're getting into more and more trouble, you can see the fine terms and services and all the documentation changing, getting ready for bail-in, bail-out, something like that. So you can already tell where the wind is blowing from. But in some of the experiences um, that I learned about and studied, I can tell you what happened in Romania, Lebanon, and some other countries. So, but because they usually have something in common. And basically, when hyperinflation or inflation is at a very high rate, one of the ways to kind of stifle that is to cut down the velocity of money. So as long as even they can get away with a lot of printing, if that money is bundled up in an account where you cannot spend it, then inflation on the street in food and other prices is actually not that high, or it's at least stops because you cannot spend your money. So that's one of the reasons, from many reasons, why they lock it up. Basically, so you cannot go and play into inflation. At least that is, of course, the kind of explanation for it. So what usually happens, it could be in Greece, what we saw that they capped ATMs that they can only issue like 50 euros per week, right? In Romania, it was a completely different crash. It was a much bigger crash in the 90s. So they completely stopped every transaction, even online purchases, wire transfers, everything was stopped immediately. And then your sum was locked up for 2 years. And then I think it got extended. And by the time your sum was there, by the time they opened it, it really didn't purchase that much. And that's where I have the family story about the three houses eventually purchasing the television set. In Lebanon, it was a very different situation because what happened there regarding the national currency and US dollars in banks, there was a separation between US dollars that are outside of the banking system and inside of the banking system. So they practically locked, if you had US dollars in Lebanon in the bank, that got locked up for, I believe, a year originally. However, and you could not spend it other than certain house builders, actually some online shops, and I believe even taxes you could pay with it. But it was locked at the rate of 1 to 3, I believe. I have to double check the numbers. But basically, the government never acknowledged hyperinflation, so they would trade it at the old rate, right? Where out on the street, the inflation was going crazy. Basically, inflation went up 20-fold. So your dollars that were stuck in the system was still traded at the old rate, right? And basically that created now a new digital dollar, which was stuck in the bank, and you and I could trade with it, right? If you would still accept it. The problem was nobody would accept it. right? So in the dollar that was stuck in the banking system, an iPhone there in Lebanon could have cost like $6,000, $30,000 because they could not. So I would sell my iPhone for you for 30,000 stuck dollars. But what would I do with those dollars? I could only spend it with someone who would take it, right? So it got split actually, right? So there's many, many crazy situations that can come from it, but you have to know that when inflation gets really high, there are many reasons why they want those dollars stuck in the system and you to eat that inflation on your savings account instead of that going into the market and making things worse. Because really hyperinflation, high inflation is a run from the currency and they don't want you to run from it. They want you stuck so everything continues at a very slow rate of inflation, which could be 20%, of course. So you eat that loss.
The velocity of money. You said a mouthful. That's how I think the CBDC will be. That's going to be its biggest feature, is to be able to control people,
Yes, I
the
believe so, yeah.
velocity. Uh, they can put a timestamp on your retirement. They can put a timestamp on your, pension, whatever it is, and they can tell you, you got to spend this much by this date or you lose it.
Yes, electrical or electric dollars or electronic dollars. I mean, all currencies now pretty much are electronic. We don't need a new electronic dollar. What they want to issue is a smart wallet, right? That's where it is. Basically, your account is smart enough to handle interest rates per person, right? Capital controls is one of the major things per person. Basically, you could, with a smart wallet, a centralized wallet, they could make a new rule that there's only certain amounts you can spend on housing, certain amounts that you can spend on food, maybe
Beer.
illegal to buy gold and silver. We saw this in Romania during communism. So when we had communism in Romania, there was only one bank, the CEC, which is an abbreviation for something long. But anyway, it was basically the only bank where everyone's money was. If you worked for a factory, right, that money would go in there first, and then they would control how much of that is for you for housing, that was government provided, how much you can spend on food, and so on. Now, of course, as soon as you got it out in cash, people would trade in the gray or black market, but everything was budgeted for you by the government and usually the big companies, which were also run by the government.
Just so you know, everybody listening, this is your new wallet. This is your future wallet. Your CBDCs will be on here. They will issue your pension and it will come to your digital wallet on your phone. God forbid if it's in your hand or your forehead. But but this stuff is coming faster and faster. And I've got one more inflation type question for you. And this, I talked about it with my wife earlier. What about clothes? What did people do? How did that work out? You just wore the ones you had and did whatever you had to do?
Right. So just one more thing on the wallet. I hope that we have some say in it, right? As if we collectively say no to things, then I do have somewhat of a positive outcome because the community is learning a lot, and hopefully it doesn't get that bad. But that's where they are being pushed for sure.
No, that's
So,
cool. No. Let's talk about the wallet. That's fine. Forget about clothes.
So clothes. No, I want to get to that because it was very important. Actually, we had a big.
Well, wait a minute. Go back to the wallet. What do you mean it's not going to get that bad? What do you?
No, I'm saying that we have a say in it because we don't live in a dictatorship yet, right? So by voting the right people in, by raising awareness, what we're doing right now, right? Even the Fed now has a feedback form. If you took a look at it about CBDCs, where they want your feedback, so you can go there. And I'm not sure what it's worth what's it worth, but you can actually leave feedback. Hey, I want these features to be left out of the CBDCs. Now, maybe they don't care too much about your opinion, but politically, everything can be nudged or shifted a little bit where it doesn't get as bad as sometimes we imagine it in our heads. Because what I've seen in this community is that there's a lot of pessimism, and that comes with basically giving up and reading the news and saying, yes, that is what will come. And that way we are playing into the hand, right, of what's happening. So I'm saying that raise awareness and use more cash, push back at every turn. Whenever there's new policy, write to your congressman,
Well,
office. There's a lot of things that we can do in a democracy while we are still a democracy. So I think we should do it.
I have a problem writing my congressman because he knows good and well what he's doing is not going to work. They already know, and I know they have to answer you and all this. I just haven't. I really don't think it's like a midget pissing on a forest fire. I
Well,
don't think it does.
well, what you can do is run for office. Sometimes, even though if you don't have a big chance, you can get your voice heard that way. And you can actually nudge the main contender, or someone who actually has a chance of winning, to be forced them to talk about the topics that you're talking about, because that way you're actually covering issues that people are interested in, and you're forcing them to at least talk about it. So there are many ways that you can, participate in this. The problem is that a lot of the prepper movement, a lot of the people who just study economy, we're thinking about mothballing and trying to save ourselves, but that is not the way. We need to get out, we need to talk with people, we need to be nice and educative about these things. And I do believe that we have a chance in making actually a better life. We shouldn't be that pessimistic.
I really like your optimism. I'm the most optimistic prepper type. I don't really consider myself a prepper. I just kind of think things are going to get bad for a little while, and then we're going to get through it, and then life's going to move on. But the
Definitely.
problem with the digital wallet that you speak of, that we can kind of put things into place and we can accept things and not accept things, they're going to put lipstick all over this pig, and it is going to be they're going to sell it to the people that are taking stimulus. They're going to say, hey, if you want your stimulus, download the digital wallet. People will do it that fast. It'll be okay. Whatever you want right now. That's what I'm going to do. You get $2,000 this time instead of 1,200. It's going to be that simple.
Yeah. Well, it is Caesar's money, so it has to go back to Caesar, right? Well, I do want to say that money, what they call money now, is actually currency, right? So we all know that, right? And there's no value behind it. The value behind it is actually you taking it, you accepting it, and me accepting it, right? It's just a piece of paper. And as long as we participate in every trap that they are, pushing towards us, then maybe we deserve it. But if you say that you only accept Bitcoin on something, I don't want to go into cryptocurrencies too much, but you can see that now, at least the mentality, especially of young people, are shifting in towards of, hey, anything can be currency. So the minimum is that, hey, this new CBDC will have to compete with each of one of us issuing our own currency, or technical, Bitcoins, because now we're getting that with Ethereum and tokens. Like you have a lot of freedom. You just forget about it, right? And start living those freedoms out, because that is how you lose talent in life, and that is how you lose muscle in life. If you don't use it, you lose it. So you should be using everything in your power and all the freedoms that you have, because you have a lot of freedoms, especially in America. So don't be that pessimistic. And this is just a shifting period, and we can take advantage of ourselves. We can have a reset of ourselves. We can reset the mentality of the people in the right direction.
I love it, man. I'm pumped up. I want.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
look,
great. No, it's
even
you're
after
absolutely right.
hyperinflation, even after hyperinflation Romania, once that was over, many of us, everyone almost, was better off than under communism before hyperinflation, right? So there are opportunities there. It's just who takes advantage will get to shape the future, right? And if we don't take advantage of that, then someone else will dictate that future for us. And it could be very simple things, just educating your neighbor, right, about the freedoms, the liberties that we have
Good luck with that.
in this great nation and country.
Right. Well, I'm going to end it right there, man. That is great. I think. No, well, I don't want to make these videos too long.
Yeah,
You know, people like a good hit of information, and it's off to the next thing. We'll save clothes and other really vital things for next time.
sounds good.
Thanks for coming on, brother. Have an awesome evening. Oh, before I let you go, wait a minute. I've got to invite you personally and everybody watching to the Dallas meetup March 5th. The Economic Ninja is going to be talking about things he can't talk about on YouTube. I'm going to be talking about real estate, rental properties, what it takes, and how awesome they are, even though they're at an all time high. We're getting ready. We're not really buying right now. Um, uh, Joe Brown's going to be talking about I can't remember a portfolio allocation in this kind of environment. It ought to be really good. Andy Scheckman's talking about gold and silver. There is a ton of talent, but to be honest with you, the reason I started going to these things is to be around the most awesome, like-minded people that are just salt of the earth. I mean, people that really care about their brother and sister. It's a community that we're building. It's the same thing that got you and your family through what y'all had to go through. And we're building it on a much bigger scale through this social media, and it's really cool. And I hope you come, and I want you to be a part of it.
Well,
So
it's a really great panel, and looks like you will be sharing amazing information.
absolutely will. Thanks for coming on, brother. I'll see you probably not tomorrow, but maybe next week. Later.